Welcome to almost episode 3, the early years. Here comes the intro.
Like my friends to the show that never ends. We're so glad you could attend. Come inside, come inside. There behind the glass stands a real blade of grass. Be careful as you pass. Move along, move along. Come inside, the show's about to start. Guaranteed to blow your head apart. Rest assured, you'll get your money's worth. Greatest show, it happened, alright, you gotta see the show. It's a dynamo, you gotta see the show. It's rock and roll, oh, right before your eyes. People laughter from the skies, and he laughs until he cries, and he dies, and he dies. Come inside, the show's about to start. Guaranteed to blow your head apart. You gotta see the show. It's a dynamo. You gotta see the show. It's rock and roll. Oh, performing on the stool. We recite to make you through. 7 virgins and a mule. Keep it cool, keep it cool. We'd like it to be known. The exhibits that were shown were exclusively our own. All our own, all our own. Come and see the show. Come and see the show. Come and see the show. Rejoice, glory is ours. Our young men have not died in vain. Their graves need no flowers. The tapes have recorded their names. I'm all there is. But I gave you life.
What else would you do?
To do what was right.
I'm perfect for you.
Hey, hi everyone. This is Mark Bentcover, Mark B, aka Marky B, I guess I should have said. I love that song. It's Carnival number 9. It's placed different parts. It's Emerson, Lake and Palmer, one of the best concerts I ever seen in my life. Keith Emerson just had like a wall of keyboards and all kinds of mechanics. Anyways, enough about them. I'm looking to figure out how I could commission that because I think in some countries the intro audio is removed because Warner Music, WMG, I don't know, somebody owns the rights to that. Anyway, it's a great song, and it's all about welcome to the show. So welcome to the show. This is almost episode 3, the real spiel, my life, my stories. And so episode 1, we covered just my dad, and episode 2, we covered my mom, except halfway through I didn't have the microphone on. So it looks like the microphone's on now, so we're all good. So we'll just figure that out as we go. So I should be broadcasting on LinkedIn Live, on Facebook, through the Facebook group, Einsteins of Creativity. If you want to join, that'd be great. It's just a collective group for people who want to support each other, who are into creative, into supporting creatives, all that kind of stuff. And then on YouTube, it's EOC Studios, which stands for Einsteins of Creativity Studios. So there's already an EOC Studios out there. They have an LLC. I do not conflict with them because EOC for me stands for Einsteins of Creativity. So it's completely different. Anyways, we're going to go about the early years. I had a pretty interesting early life. Apparently, I mean, I wasn't, before year 1 or 2 or maybe even 3. I don't even know if I remember anything that I didn't see in movies, like home movies, not real movies, although I did later. We will talk about that, star in those as in my adult years. However, so I think I was a little before 1 year old, and my parents had a rare night out, and they put my older sister in charge of me. Apparently, I was a pretty good baby, pretty quiet, just content, feed me, burp me, clean up my diapers, put new ones on, let me sleep, let me frolic. I think I'm back to that now. So that's, not that anyone has to change my diapers now, but if you just let me go, be myself, frolic, say what I want to say, what I want to do, what I want to do, and we're fine. Anyway, so my sister's watching me, and uncharacteristically, I start bawling, like screaming, like in terror, like wah, like something's like deadly wrong, and my sister starts freaking out. And I guess she called my parents, and then they finally decided to call the doctor. I'm not sure if they called the ambulance or whatever, but I ended up in the hospital. And so before the ripe age of 1 year old, I had a double hernia. I shouldn't laugh. Anyway, so before 1 year old, had a double hernia, never had a hernia since. Good. I don't recommend it. I don't remember how I felt then, but I was screaming, so it's pretty bad. And I've heard people who have had hernias, and yeah, they're nothing to be messed with. You could, if you strangulated or in a weird area, it could actually kill you. But anyways, it's apparently a rupture between muscles, and yeah, it's a weakness, and they repair it anyway. So I had scars from that, and like wondered, hey, how did I get scars out there? So I had a double hernia. So that'll be called my first almost death experience. And through this podcast, you will learn about others. I will save the story of where a bunch of friends of mine took a poll, and they put $100 down each. And anyway, we'll talk about that later. Just suffice it to say, it was like a Super Bowl lottery thing where they bet what age I would die. And I didn't. The heck with them. I'm a defiant little son of a you know what. Anyway, I won't disrespect my mother that way. So that was my first almost. Then another thing I did when I was a child. So we had, as I stated before in my dad's episode, he worked as a credit manager for Nelson Brothers Furniture. I should check to see if they exist. I didn't do that in between the show and last show, my dad's show, which was 3 weeks ago. Probably should have done that, but I did not, because I'm not well, yes, I am. I am a pretty good researcher. I know how to research. I taught thousands of people how to do research. Did it at University of Phoenix, did it in Oregon Institute of Technology, did it at Boeing, had an OIT campus, and elsewhere in different corporations. But regardless, we're not talking about that right now. So anyways, I worked for Nelson Brothers. So we got some furniture is all objective, right? So what you think is a nice chair, a nice couch, a nice table, whatever, somebody else might not think it. So we had these marble tables. Those were pretty cool. My mom loved them. But we had this round one, and apparently as a child, I hop around like a rabbit, like, on my knees hopping around. And I would say I was a turtle. And so I got the nickname Turtle from my sister. It wasn't necessarily because of that, but that was probably the start of it. I did other things too before I knew I had ADD, and now even that I know I do, it doesn't really matter. It hasn't changed any way I behave. It just kind of gave me like a understanding of sometimes of how I act. It's like, oh, so that's why I do that. Okay, I'm not going to use it as an excuse, but I'll use it as information. And now I can change my behavior or set plans into place so that I know when I have a weakness, if I have that plan in place, then I could overcome it. And I've done a lot of overcoming in my life. Anyway, so I hopped around, said I was a rabbit. Like a rabbit, said I was a turtle. Both my brother and I'm not sure if he broke his chin on that table. I think I did. I think he broke in it because I think he broke his twice. I broke mine once. I think he broke his once because we had one of those collapsible, I forgot what you call them, carriages. You put a baby in it and walk them around. Yeah, and so it snapped on him, kind of like a weird made bear trap or something. Who knows? Anyway, I also earned turtle. Just not that I was slow, I wouldn't say. I guess I would be methodical. And also, I've come to understand that part of that is just my ADD. So, for example, even as a child, if we were going somewhere, and then, the parents do the usual thing. You got to go to the bathroom. Are you hungry? Do you need anything? You sure you got to go to the bathroom? You got the right clothes. You got this. You got that. All that preparation. And so I, of the 4 children, would take the longest to go. So I'd be ready. It's like, yeah, let's go. And then on the way out the door, so let's say I was in my bedroom, which was at the end of the house in our first house, And so I'd go walking down the hall and I'd be distracted by something. And I'd go, oh, I got to go do that. Not sure why I had to handle that before. Like maybe the cap was off the toothpaste or something. And in order to get from my room that I shared with my two brothers to the front door, I had to pass the bathroom. So I passed the bathroom, know something was up, go in the bathroom, fix that something, then come back out, then get into the living room, and then something was askew by my childlike standards, and I'd go fix that. So it just take me a long time to get to the car. And so that I think is why I was nicknamed Turtle. So, and I'm not sure what kind of almost that has to do anything. So then also, and I'm Jewish, so I went to Hebrew school and Saturday school. So in Saturday school, we were doing this play. My first acting job, I believe I was like 6 or 7, and I was playing a judge. I'm not even sure what it was for. Was it the Maccabees? It might have been the Hanukkah story, but I'm not sure. And they didn't give me any instructions. Like I said, I'm 6 or 7 years old, and they make me a judge. And so all I knew was like from TV shows and stuff. Like my dad really liked like Dragnet and Combat and things like that. So all I knew about the judiciary system at the time was through TV. And so I remember, and I don't know why I remember, but I remember in one episode of one show that the defendant got off from reason of insanity. And so we're doing this Bible story, and I forgot who was being prosecuted, but some biblical figure. And of course, they were being tried around some miracle or something. And so, miracles are fantastical. I mean, there's evidence that some of the miracles actually did happen, and they're proven through science. But, at that age, like, oh, yeah, it's like a fairy tale, which, I like science fiction and fantasy. But the defending attorney in this mock trial did not ask for innocent by reason of insanity, but for some reason, I just like made it up, and the rabbi who was teaching that class just kind of looked at me and like, he's a really nice guy, so there's no judgment, but he's just kind of like curious, how the heck did Mark come up with innocent by reason of insanity? So I was almost a judge, almost an actor at that time. Throughout my life, I would act, almost a famous actor. I mean, by judgment of a lot of people that act, I was successful, as in I worked pretty consistently for 20 plus years. But it'd be, like an extra on a commercial or an extra on a TV show or in a flashback of a movie, stuff like that. And whenever I would have speaking lines, which is really important to an actor, because you get paid more if you have a speaking part. You also get a credit, and then you can go on IMDb. Technically, I could go to IMDb, put all my credits in there, but it wouldn't make any difference because most of them didn't have speaking parts. But anyway, so back to Saturday school. I did. I just did innocent by reason of insanity, even though nobody asked for it. So that was kind of weird. I was a strange kid, but that's what you do. And then in the time I went to school, you would learn how to read. It was SRA, but I'm not sure what the heck that stood for. But it's kind of cool. So you'd have just this big box of cards with different colors on them. They'd all have stories on it, and then you'd read the story and you'd answer questions about the story, and then it would judge your comprehension, your reading level, and all that kind of stuff. And I think gold was the highest color, so it'd be like gray, then a darker gray, then like a green, and there's like 20 levels, I think. Anyways, I got to gold, the highest level, and finished them pretty quickly. But I wasn't the winner. Someone else did it faster than me. So I was almost the fastest learning reader in school. And was I upset about that? Yeah, kind of a little bit, but as a kid, I didn't really know about those things. But what it did is it instilled the love of reading. I still love reading. I do Audible books. I read books. I have probably a pile of 15 books on my end table. And I think in my library for unheard, because it's Audible, I have about 10 audiobooks. And then every time someone suggests, oh, you should read blah, blah, blah. Or I was recently on a show with my friend, brother Michael Dillard. And we talked about Native Son, one of my favorite books of all time. So maybe I'll reread that. If you haven't read it, it's a very good story. And reading that, and I had one incident in my life, and it really helped me understand racism pretty clearly, and not only the direct effects, but the indirect effects as well, and how it can affect someone's life. So it's about this, basically a kid. I mean, not when I read it, he wasn't a kid; he was older. But from my perspective now, he's a kid named Bigger Thomas, and through circumstances, societal pressures, and all that kind of stuff happens. I'm not going to tell you. You should read it. It's a great book. So anyways, SRA, almost the best, but not quite the best reader in, I think it was elementary school. So somewhere in 1st through 6th grade, whatever SRA was. And in the comments, or you could DM me on LinkedIn if you want and tell me what SRA stands for and what grade that would be. But that was a lot of fun. Then I got into the recorder. Recorder and piano, I think, were my first instruments. Recorder is a very interesting instrument because it's technically a woodwind. Many of you probably played it. I think it has 1 octave, if I'm not mistaken. It might be less than 1 octave, but it's got a pretty cool sound if you play it right. But for major instruments, it's probably like in between a kazoo, where you basically hum into it, and then maybe clarinet, but like in the middle of that. So it's not quite a very rudimentary, like a mouth harp or the kazoo, and it's not as sophisticated as a real woodwind like an oboe or a clarinet. Anyways, the reason I bring that up is I was pretty good at that, but obviously there was someone better, because otherwise this show wouldn't be called Almost. And that time that didn't, so throughout my life and throughout all of our lives, when we almost make it, we have a choice. And the choice is, it's like, okay, I was almost the best in this. Do I want to be the best? So should I continue to try this and work harder to become the best? Or you can let it affect you and go, that person did better than me, and let it go. So on the recorder, I just let the recorder go, and that was pretty cool. But I'd come back to clarinet later, and there's some good stories there that I'll tell. Probably not this episode, because we're only gonna make it to like 5th grade in this episode. So yeah, almost good on the recorder. And then I took piano lessons, and I'm not sure what happened there. Well, no, I do know what happened there. So we didn't have a piano in the house, so in order to practice, I had to stay at school or practice at temple or whatever, and so I didn't get a lot of practice time. I think I took piano lessons from Mrs. Shore. Pretty sure. Yeah, she's a very cool teacher. So I play a lot of instruments, and I'm taking lessons. I've taken lessons for piano, clarinet, guitar, and vocal lessons. And of those 4 things, clarinet teacher was the director, and we'll tell stories of it later. He sucked. He was a terrible teacher. Then most of my guitar teachers were also, well, I had basically 3 major guitar teachers, because my friend Wes helped me, so I'll consider him a teacher. So Wes and the guy he suggested that I use before Wes, those guys were good. The first person, Howie Mandel, not the comedian or the guy or the judge on America's Got Talent, but yeah, so I had Howie Mandel. He was not sorry, Howie, if you're still alive and out there, but you were a terrible guitar teacher. But I also should thank you, because of you being a terrible guitar teacher made me become a really good guitarist. That's another episode there too. But piano, anyways, back to Mrs. Shore. Of the maybe 10 people I've had teach me some musical thing throughout my lifetime, Mrs. Shore was way up there. She was very kind. She was very gentle and understanding. She was very encouraging. And I mean, she had a way about her that other teachers did not, which, if you didn't practice or you didn't do a good job, she would like accept it, but push you, like nudge you forward. And that style really worked for me. So, I mean, going, hey, you suck, you didn't practice, you're terrible, let's get on with it. You're not learning. I don't know if I should teach you. No, she didn't do any of that. She's going, okay, so yeah, I think one of her big phrases was, Mark, you have a little bit more to work on. I think that was their big thing. But she said it in such a way, it was actually encouraging. So that was kind of fun. And I can't remember why I stopped piano. But so, anyways, I was almost a good piano player. Now I consider myself a rhythm keyboardist. I have a complete control 88 keyboard controller, and I have a lot of plugins and stuff, so I can play all kinds of songs, all kinds of instruments. It's way cool, but we'll talk about that later as well. So yeah, Mrs. Shore. I'm not even sure if you're alive. I mean, my mom died at 92, and Mrs. Shore is a contemporary. But if you're alive or any of your family's alive, Mrs. Shore was an awesome teacher. We should acknowledge our teachers throughout the ages. So there's piano, and then now I'm not going to go into clarinet yet, but I did Pop Warner, and I'm not sure what age Pop Warner started, but I'm pretty sure it was 4th or 5th grade. So I played Pop Warner football, and that was a blast. I was on the Hoffman State Raiders. That was a lot of fun. It was also really tough because we played in the summer because it was mostly a park district. It wasn't a school-oriented team. And there's a lot of gear you have to wear, and protective gear and the uniform and socks and shoes and helmet and blah, 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 blah in football. And Chicago summers are extremely hot and humid. So wearing all that gear in summer kind of sucked. But I had a blast playing football. Was I the most elegant athlete? Au contraire, mon frere. No, not really. But I think early on I was a lot better athlete. Just I think because circumstances and stuff. My dad was still around. My mom was around, so my family would encourage me. My older brother was into sports. So he was. Did I have? No, he went to a different elementary school. So in elementary school, I didn't hear anything about him. And then in junior high and high school, he also went to different ones of those. He was 4 or so years ahead of me. So I didn't hear much about him either, except from like my mom. Because so there's 4 children, and 3 of us say, first was always mom's favorite. I don't know if that's true, but it seemed to be true at that time. Anyway, so then at that time, and when I was playing for Pop Warner football, it's really great. I mean, I played a little quarterback. I was a defensive. What was I? Defensive end. I don't remember, but I played defense. I played offense. I was quarterback periodically, and I was not bad, but I wasn't the starting quarterback. So that's another almost. But what I learned from that is teamwork, just respecting and finding the strengths of other people that have a common goal as you. So obviously the common goal is score more points than your opponent. And so just learning what other people could do. They can tackle, they can hit hard, they can hit high, they can, block better, they can jump higher, whatever. So you use those talents and you would create a winning team. I think I was on it 2 or 3 years. And 1 year, I think we had 1 winning season. The other 2, we did not so much. And then the worst sport ever, at least for me. So there was the church league for basketball. So I was on the temple thing. I think my older brother cheated because he brought friends of his who were ringers who weren't Jewish. And I think that was the best team that Beth Tikva ever had in the church league. So my brother was on it because he brought ringers in. I don't know if we weren't smart enough, or at that time the rabbi was like, no, we just got to keep with people who go to our temple. But we were pretty horrible. So, I mean, I think Phil Israel and I think Phil and Saul were the best, and the rest of us were pretty much, not so good. So, but to this day, I still like basketball. Like watching basketball, like tossing the ball. We have one at my current place. We have a backboard. I think it's regulation height. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it's regulation height. So you go out there and shoot hoops. And you get really good because there's no backdrop. And so we live on some acreage. And so even if you miss, if you miss like really badly, so you missed the shots and then you miss the backboard, it's going in the, it's going in the woods, and you got a long haul to get your ball back. So you got to get good. You learn to bounce it off the backboard. But that's a future story too. Anyways, church league, basketball, horrible. We had a lot of fun though. So that's a good thing. If you're on a sport team or there's something you're not very good at, that's a lesson right there. If you like it, do it. Don't worry about what other people think or compare yourself to others. There's only one LeBron, there's only one Michael Jordan, there's only one Kobe, all that kind of stuff. And most of us are never going to play in the NBA, and most of us are not even going to be good in college. And you know what I mean? Just play for fun. Just go out there, have fun. And all right, Lolo's on. And when I post this as a podcast, people are going to go, "What's he talking about? This is supposed to be a podcast." And he's talking to someone called Lolo. What's all that about? I don't know. Anyway. And actually, I don't even know. That's weird. So that's on podcasts and stuff. It does this weird thing. So you can type in chat. So depending on what platform they're on. So she's doing it on LinkedIn. And for some reason, my primary for this podcast is YouTube. So when I type in a message, she won't see it. So I have to put it on the screen. And when I just rip the audio for the podcast, all the people just listening to this, not seeing video, are going to be going, "What the hell is he talking about?" Anyway. So back to not comparing yourself to others. There's always going to be people with more talent, more breaks, work harder, whatever reason, and they're going to be better at something than you. Don't try to be lesser them. Be a more you. So figure out what you're good at, what you like, be the best you can be in that, and just be satisfied and fulfilled with that. A lot of people say, "Oh, you should be happy all your life." I actually don't aspire or believe in that philosophy. I think you should go for fulfillment. You should figure out what your goals are, what your purpose is, what your passions are. And then I have a saying, it's purpose-driven passion equals focused action. So if you know what your passions are and you use those to drive towards your purpose, and I believe our purpose changes all through our life. So like mine right now, so just as an aside, Lolo says, "LOL, don't mind me, just a fly on the wall. Go over to YouTube." I'm not over on YouTube. I'm just broadcasting all. Anyway, people are going to go, "Who Lolo is?" Well, Lolo's a member of Hemp Sisters. So her and Mama Epps are two of my favorite people on the face of the planet. Like, I mean, they're not top 1 and 2. Once you get up that high, you're all a big glob. So I'd say I got about 50 favorite people. Anyways, Mama and Lolo, I can't even talk now. Lola, Cabana, no. So Lolo and Mama Epps are the Hemp Sisters, and they're all about education on C8, C9, CBD, THC, hemp, cannabis, all that kind of stuff, and all its benefits. And they're very educational, and they also have a big, huge heart. So their big goal, which is why I started this little rant, and I brought up Lolo, because I believe they're going to be around for a long, long time, and they're what's it called? It's not a charity. Oh man. Anyways, they're dedicating action to help people, and their thing they're focusing on now is ending hunger for children across the world. I might not have said that correctly, but yeah, that's what they're doing. So they're taking their success. I think they have like 100K followers on LinkedIn, and they have followers on YouTube, and they have followers everywhere. Oh, there it is. Feed My Starving Children. So Feed My Starving Children. So if you're listening to this, go to YouTube, look up Hemp Sisters. I believe it's also on LinkedIn as Hemp Sisters. I'm not sure if they have a Facebook group, but just look it up and help them out and work towards feeding my starving children. What I'm good at is I probably, unless I become really rich, and that's not an aspiration of mine, I just want to be comfortable. And comfortable means I have the means to do what I want when I want with little stretching. So I don't need to be a billionaire, but a millionaire would be cool. Anyway, so I'm not very good at starting charities of my own, but I've actually had jobs and volunteer a lot to help other charities. So when I find a charity that I believe in or people I believe in that are doing the charity, and with the case of Feed My Starving Children, I believe in the Hem Sisters 100%, and I also believe in that cause. I used to have a phrase, because I'm from Chicago and stuff like that, I go, if you mess with animals or children, you can have an answer to me. You know what I'm saying? It'll give you a fish sandwich. Anyway, so and you'll, as almost progresses, you'll hear a lot about that. I mean, you'll hear about my journey through therapy. Also, wow, that sounded weird. My journey through therapy as a therapist, and my focus was sexually abused children. So I did that for 3.5 years, and yeah, it just killed my soul because the one aspects I didn't know. Like I told you before, these are going to be, I'm eclectic, I'm eccentric, I have ADD, all that kind of stuff. So sometimes it's going to be rabbit trails. So we got a little off the early years, but I kind of I'm thinking it all ties together, making my point. So, wow, and I totally lost my train of thought there. Anyways, Lolo says, Chi-Town represents. That's right. I was born in Chicago, grew up in the suburbs, lived in Chicago twice as an adult. I love the people. I love the food. I know it has its problems and all that kind of stuff. And the most evident is the sadness of my family is I'm a White Sox fan. Everybody else is a Cubs fan. I like the Cubs, but they're number 2. So I like White Sox. So I'm in line with my cousin Bob. I actually saw 2 games in the World Series of the White Sox. That was pretty cool. Anyway, in that neighborhood, if you know anything about Chicago, so it used to be Comiskey Park. By the way, that's where the All-Star Game was invented. Yes, go Chicago! They invented the All-Star Game. Comiskey, the guy who that park was named after. He invented the All-Star Game that is now evolved into the All-Star Game. Anyway, so that neighborhood, even when I lived like the near north side, I would take the L, get off the L, go to what is now, is it Cellular Field anymore? I think someone else bought the name. Anyways, the new White Sox Park, new-ish. It's been around for a decade now, I think. Anyway, so you go straight to the park, and then you go straight back to the L, because there's several neighborhoods around where the White Sox play. Not so nice. And it's my belief. That's why the White Sox are not as popular as the Cubs. The Cubs, you go to Wrigleyville, and there's like all these really cool bars. And they also have apartment complexes and condo complexes surrounding Wrigley Field. And they have they set up bleachers on the roof of these places, and you can go to that and watch a game. Even not even being Wrigley Field, but you get a pretty good view. It's a whole like experience. The neighborhood's awesome and all that kind of stuff. White Sox, I love the White Sox. I love going to see them play live, but the neighborhoods around there, let's just say they're kind of sketchy. So anyways, back to, oh my God, it's 3:01. So I should probably think about wrapping up almost episode 3. So I'll guarantee all y'all that I'll be done within 7 minutes. So just remember the lesson of almost. The whole reason I did this show is one of my ways to make money is that I do theme songs and intros and outros for people podcast and live events. Lolo's always poking me. She said, go Cubs. I like the Cubs. I like the Cubs too. It just goes White Sox, Cubs, then whatever major league team wherever I'm living at the time. So when I lived in Seattle, I was a Mariners fan for decades and had season tickets. I just love baseball. Baseball reminds me of my dad. And since I didn't have a great deal of time with him, it's like camping, fishing, baseball, and various foods and stuff like that. That's my tie to my dad. And he died when I was in my mid-teens. And so, as you know, most people in their mid-teens are kind of angry. So I was kind of angry then. And I had many reasons for that, but we'll go into that in a later episode. But just remember the lesson of almost. So go for what you want. First of all, figure out what your passions are, what drives you. Think about things in your past where you were just jazzed. You were in the flow. You didn't have to think about things. Just time passed you by and you accomplished so much. That's because you were living your passion. That's how you find out your passions. Just look in your past life, not past lives, although, some people believe in that. I'm not so sure. I believe that's passed down through DNA. So I don't necessarily believe our souls go from a life to a life, but our DNA does. And so we have what is called genetic memory. But that's a science show. That'll go and psych you in. That's a different show I have. Anyway, so those moments when you were jazzed, when you were in flow and you got like so much done and you didn't even know time was passing, look at those moments and how did you feel during those moments? Because that will help you identify what your passions are. I believe, and some people disagree, that's what my Inside Leaders Heads show is all about, is discovering your passions, your purpose. And I have leaders on that. In fact, Lolo, you're going to be invited on Inside Leaders Heads. I just thought about that. Don't know why I haven't invited you before. But Inside Leaders Heads, I invite people on. Leaders can be from all walks of life, anywhere. It's just someone who's going for what they want. And they're on the path. They're on the path. So you never reach your destination. Your destination is death. We're all dying as soon as we, become alive, so our cells start dying. And at some point, I'm not sure where it is, somewhere in teenagehood, more cells dying than are growing. But let's not go there. That's kind of morbid. So when you find those passions, and that's what Inside Leaders Head is, we bring a leader on, we go, how did you discover your passions? What's your current purpose? How do you live that every day? And then how do people see that in you? And then what advice do you have people finding their passions? And what always comes up in that is I ask, do you think your passions evolve through your lifetime? Do you think your purpose evolves through your lifetime? I've had 16 episodes. Not one of the 16 leaders I've interviewed agree on that concept. So for me, my point of view, it's your passions are pretty steady. Once you have that, it's almost like your personality. They're pretty steady throughout your life. You just display them in different ways. You experience them in different ways as you grow older. And your purpose changes throughout your life. So if you use your passion to drive your purpose, then you will have focused action and no one on earth will be able to stop you. So, let's read Lolo saying, it's going to be fun with their I think she's talking about when she's a guest on Inside Leaders Heads. I'm gentle. I'm the curator. So on Inside Leaders Heads, I'm like the curator. I don't talk much. This one, it's just me talking about almost, trying to weave in different things to help encourage you and inspire you out there. You're not alone. So if you're having troubles or whatever, reach out to a friend. If you don't have friends that you can't reach out to, then whatever platform you're on. If you're on Facebook, join my Facebook group, Einsteins of Creativity, or just send me a message and I will get back to you and support, like a virtual hug, listening to you, whatever. If you're on LinkedIn, it's just Mark-Bentcover. And of course, if you look up Bentcover, you'll see my two brothers and me. Just come up to me, DM me. We'll have a conversation. I'll support you. And then I'm not sure about YouTube. So YouTube, I have a channel called EOC Studios. I think you can subscribe and send me a message. Hey, Shawn, Watkins in the house. Just join me there. If you need help, seek help. Don't do this alone. There's so many people on the face of the planet. There's got to be someone that can help you. And if you believe in 6 degrees of separation, which I do, it's a concept. I put out a video on LinkedIn about this, that my mom was the master. Also, my episode 2 is about that too. My mom was the master of 6 degrees separation. In any conversation with any person, whether she just met them or knew them for a long time, she could find a link to almost anyone else in the world. And so she could have a conversation with you, and then she'd come back and then, say, hey, so this guy was the son of George, who was the cousin of Bob, who had a cousin that went out with Jane, and then Jane later married my son, or something like that. She just come up with weird things like that. Anyway, So we're coming to the end. I want to thank Carl and Lolo for showing up. And if you're listening to this on Spotify, Apple, or the other podcast networks that I don't know, which I shall learn so I can name them, I thank you for showing up. I will have Almost. It's my podcast. It's Almost the Real Spiel, my life, my stories, life lessons, all that good stuff. It's always on Monday at 2:30. And it'd be on LinkedIn. You can see it because I now have creator mode. I have to figure out how to set it up, but that means you can view this on my profile. You can view it live on my profile, and you can also view the replay on my profile. Or you can go to Facebook group, Einsteins with Creativity, join it, or just watch it. I think you can watch it there even if you're not a member. And then you can also see it on YouTube channel, EOC Studios. So I want you to have a very happy Monday. Hopefully this encouraged you, it inspired you. You got to laugh while that. And then Lolo says, have a happy day. Oh, I love their puns. So they can turn anything into Hemp Sisters Nation. Welcome to Hemp Sisters Nation. Oh, wait a second. That's a different show. Anyways, I wrote them a theme song. That's how much I like them. And I like Carl too. So check out Carl's thing. I did an intro for him, several intros. But I'm going to sign off because I'm rambling, blah, 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 blah. This has been episode 3 of Almost the Real Spiel, my life, my stories. And this is Marky B signing off. I will give you the Ace Rimmer salute. If you're not a Red Dwarf fan, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But smoke me a kippa, and I'll be back for breakfast. See you later.